In order to complete the quest, Fuko and the others arrived in the City of Longing. However, the city had already been ravaged by spoil and was filled with residents transformed into zombies. Andy charged in directly from the front, but due to the effects of spoil, his body began to decay just like the other residents. Shen scolded Andy for his reckless actions, but due to the decay, the immortal Andy could now understand the language of the zombies. The request of a zombie girl was to organize a wedding. Andy then proceeded to arrange the wedding ceremony. The zombie girl, satisfied, requested defeating the source of this tragedy and pointed to the angel statue. The true form of the angel statue was the main quest target, Spoil. At the same time, Fuko pursued a surviving boy and headed underground, which was already within Spoil's territory. As Fuko began to charge forward to save the child, a horrifying countdown appeared on her stomach. Fuko then introduced herself and asked the boy for his name. The boy, named Ken, revealed that he attended Sunflower Kindergarten. Fuko praised Ken for being the oldest and most reliable. She informed Ken of her origin and explained that she came to save him and his friends. She asked Ken to tell her what happened there and why they were still alive. 1 week earlier, on August 17th, a black ball suddenly appeared in the middle of the city, and the ball started speaking. It claimed to like the houses and inhabitants of the place who easily decay. It then released red gas throughout the area. Suddenly, numbers appeared on everyone's stomachs, and adults slowly turned into zombies. After witnessing this, the teacher who taught Ken and his friends led them to an underground room. She left them there, instructing them to stay there for the time being. She assured them that she was fine and wouldn't die until she found a cool husband and organized a wedding. She also advised them that if they faced difficulties, they should think about their dreams for the future. As long as they had dreams, they wouldn't decay. The teacher's body began to decay slowly. She closed the door to the underground room, smiling at Ken and his friends. On August 24th, Fuko and Shen were worried because Spoil's location was still unknown. Suddenly, Ken's friend Mai started crying. Mi, a girl, was crying because the number on her stomach was almost depleted. Ken reassured Mi that help would come soon. He reminded her of her dream of becoming a flower shopkeeper. Ken asked what kind of flowers she wanted to sell, and she replied that she wanted to sell sunflowers. Ken then lifted Mi's body, telling her that the teacher also liked sunflowers. Mi stopped crying after hearing Ken's words. With a smile, she said that she would give many sunflowers and surprise the teacher. Shortly after, the number on Mi's stomach increased. Ken then spoke to Fuko, informing her of what had happened and how to increase the numbers. He also asked Fuko to help him and his friends. Spoil engaged in a fierce battle, unleashed attacks in various directions. These attacks alerted Shen that something was happening above. Andy, in the midst of the battle, employed the red crescent moon technique. Fighting while carrying the assisting zombie girl, blood flowing from his left leg propelled him, allowing him to spin in the air. He then used his sword to slash at Spoil. However, Spoil sustained no injuries from Andy's attack. Fuko and Shen decided to head outside. They observed Andy battling Spoil alongside the zombies. Impressed by Andy collaborating with the zombies, even though their assistance wasn't particularly useful, Fuko and Shen saw Andy noticing them emerging from the underground. He asked them to take care of the zombie girl who had aided him and tossed her in Shen's direction. Shen caught the zombie girl, and Ken, who was peeking out, identified her as their teacher. He informed his friends that their teacher was above, bringing joy to their faces. There was a zombie girl hunched under a rain of blood. The zombie survived after Andy's attack in that area. Andy brought the zombie girl to Fuko and Shen and relayed what the zombie girl had said. She requested Andy to marry her as it was her dream. After the wedding, she would reveal Spoil's location. Andy sought permission from Fuko, who laughed and instructed Andy to go. Andy then took the girl to a church and conducted the wedding ceremony with her. Fuko felt sadness upon realizing that the zombie girl was Ken and his friend's teacher. Ken and his friends approached the zombie girl. Mai hugged the zombie girl, noticing her injured arm, and offered to take care of it. The teacher then spoke hesitantly, expressing gratitude to Fuko. Suddenly, a zombie rushed towards Fuko. The zombie's arm struck Fuko's cheek, and it ran towards Spoil. The zombie collided with the massive legs of Spoil, fell, and a signboard dropped from one of the houses. The signboard hit Spoil's shoulder and split into 2 pieces, falling to the ground. One piece aimed at the zombie that had touched Fuko, hitting its back and splitting its body in 2. Witnessing this, Andy shouted to the other zombies in the area. He instructed all the zombies present to touch Fuko. After touching her, they would turn into bombs. The damage caused when attacking Spoil would be greater than with a regular attack. However, Fuko disagreed with this idea. It was also clear that the zombies were unwilling to do such a thing. However, the The zombie teacher then ran towards Fuko and embraced her. Touched by this, Fuko finally decided to go along with it. She removed both her gloves and hugged the zombie teacher. The zombie teacher released the embrace and ran towards UMA Spoil. Ken ran after her, knowing that something bad was about to happen. However, Shen stopped him with his abilities. Ken fell, screaming. Tearfully, Fuko wished for a great disaster to come. Andy praised the zombie teacher for being a great bride. The zombie teacher then ran towards UMA Spoil. UMA Spoil prepared and used his right hand to attack the zombie teacher. Fuko, Shen, Ken, and his friends were saddened by the sight, while Andy was pleased with the zombie teacher's courage. UMA Spoil took a step and suddenly slipped, falling onto a building. The building was a warehouse containing gunpowder. The building crumbled, and the gunpowder inside caused a massive explosion. The explosion produced a large black smoke. There were also detached hands and a head of the statue separated from UMA Spoil's head. Ken tried to go and save the zombie teacher, but Shen stopped him. Andy ordered everyone in the area to surround UMA Spoil and fight fiercely. The remaining zombies then ran towards UMA Spoil again. Before reaching UMA Spoil, Fuko touched them with her hands. Some zombies intentionally collided their bodies with Fuko. Shen led Ken and his friends into the underground room, instructing them to wait there. The zombies touched by Fuko then ran towards UMA Spoil and collided with their bodies. These zombies were then hit by explosions from various directions, impacting UMA Spoil. Andy then praised these zombies. Shen urged Fuko and himself to leave quickly. Shen and Fuko approached Andy. Shen informed Andy that he and Fuko had also been cursed, so they needed to deal with it as soon as possible. Fuko apologized to Andy, stating that Shen was innocent. Andy didn't mind that and told them not to bother capturing UMA Spoil and just kill it. However, Shen refused, mentioning that he would be scolded by other members if the quest failed. Suddenly, a wind emerged and pulled everything in the area. UMA Spoil opened its mouth, pulling everything towards it. Andy caught Fuko, who was almost dragged, while Shen held onto Andy's leg. Andy used his blood to push them away from UMA. The zombies were sucked into UMA's mouth. The creature then closed its mouth again. Andy, Fuko, and Shen managed to survive. After closing its mouth, red smoke surrounded UMA. As the smoke dissipated, UMA's body became visible again. Its form changed from before, now having one eye, horns, and a pair of wings. Shen then asked Andy if he knew the rules when fighting UMA Spoil. Andy roughly answered that he knew. The original form of UMA could decay organic matter other than living creatures. To decay living beings, it needed to initiate a countdown to 0. When Andy was cursed, his right hand began to decay. He tried to regenerate it, but shortly after, the hand decayed again. As Mi's curse had a few seconds left, Ken inquired about Mi's dream of becoming a flower seller. When Mei remembered and expressed her dream, the time on her stomach increased. Therefore, Shen concluded that the conditions would weaken from now on. UMA Spoil raised its hand and pointed its finger at Andy and the others. It shot a laser beam from its finger, and the laser quickly flew. Seeing this, Shen used his ability to deflect the laser. The laser hit a statue, causing it to decay. Andy then thanked Shen. Seeing that the attack failed, UMA began to think. It speculated that Andy and the others attacked because of a quest from Apocalypse. The emblem on Shen's clothes then sounded. The voice belonged to Mu. She informed Shen that her orbital laser structure had disappeared. The power of her control had surpassed mere decay. She instructed not to harm UMA. UMA then jumped and flew into the air. It shot laser beams from its 10 fingers. The beams hit Andy's left hand and Shen's gloves. Andy's hand and Shen's gloves began to decay. Andy cut off his left hand with a sword, while Shen removed his gloves. Andy concluded that touching it would cause gradual decay. If it touched a living being, it would be the end. Prolonged fighting with it would be detrimental, so he decided to finish it quickly. Andy jumped and cut off his leg. The blood in his leg propelled Andy to move faster. Andy drew the sword. Before he reached it, UMA clothes and some parts of Andy's body began to decay. UMA Spoil clenched its right hand and then punched Andy. After Andy fell to the ground, UMA Spoil hit Andy with numerous punches again. However, Andy regenerated, although not as fast as before. UMA concluded that Andy was a death denier. Although Andy's abilities were troublesome, with the current decay of UMA, Andy's regeneration couldn't catch up. Fuko and Shen were also waiting to decay due to UMA Spoil's abilities. The beautiful cycle of life increased with his birth. Shen then had a thought. He distanced himself from UMA Spoil. UMA facing Fuko then spoke. Before its existence, the world was very dull. Everything didn't decay and everything piled up in ugly forms. It decayed everything and transformed it. After that, living creatures struggled to live long, think, and evolve more than necessary. Only humans hated it and considered it a villain. Yet humans were also part of nature. Why did humans cling firmly when their lifespan couldn't reach 100 years? Fuko then responded to Uma Spoil's words. She answered that humans have dreams. With the bodies they've had since birth, humans find their dreams. It's impossible for them to be destroyed by Uma Spoil. Even though their bodies are forced to decay, their hearts will never decay as long as they have dreams. Fuko's dream is to become an ordinary girl and die happily at her best. Until that moment arrives, she won't give up. The number on Fuko's stomach then increased again. Uma Spoil is surprised by this. Andy praised Fuko. Fuko then ran towards Andy. Fuko, who had distanced herself, came back carrying a staff. She jumped and then spun in the air. She swung the staff and attacked Uma Spoil's head. She then narrated her dream to become the greatest of all.